This is another Poets at War General Report. And here's your General, Joshua David Ling.
Good luck.
Guten Tag. What's the word, everybody? Good to see you again here on Poets at War. Now, we're moving into a Disney princess that I have spoken on before in my episode with author Abigail Falanga. And we talked in depth on that one, so I definitely want to tell you to go and listen to that one. But I'll give a little bit of an overview of Cinderella and maybe mention a few things that weren't mentioned there. I don't remember. It's been a minute. But the Cinderella is one of those princesses. I guess we're getting into this right away. Just remember, joshuadavidling.com. You can check out my poetry bricks. You can go and check out my support section where you can support me financially. There's also a shout box there in the front page that no one's really used yet besides me, but you can sign in there with your email address. You can chat with me directly, and it's a nice way to get off of some of the social media situation. And guess what? Everyone who goes to my website can see our conversation. So if you have anything to plug that is related to what we're doing, obviously not, gross, weird nonsense, but I would love to have you come and show off your books, your stories of a, Christian bent. And I would love that. So also you can text me right there. Text me, call me, whatever you want to do. That's my personal number. Bring it on. So Cinderella, moving along with the Disney princesses. This is an interesting time for Disney, moving back into full-length feature animation away from the shorts. It meant a lot to Disney, but it also means a lot in general. It's one of the absolute oldest stories with a princess that we have, especially in Europe, but in all kinds of places throughout the world. There's actually there's some really dark versions of it too. There's an Eastern version where, and this is a bit graphic, so just bear with me on this. I won't go too graphic, but essentially, Cinderella's mother is reincarnated as a fish, and the stepsisters, fry her up and feed her to Cinderella, unbeknownst. There's all kinds of ridiculous versions of Cinderella on through the years, and I think that's mostly due to the fact that it has an origin that is so old that everybody has a connection with it, and that's fairly obvious. But what is that connection? Well, if you listen to the Abigail Falanga interview, you will know that my belief is that Cinderella is directly connected with the biblical story of Ruth. Now, I'll tease that out a little bit, but like I said, I did in Abigail's interview as well. We had a great time talking. But the main stuff is we have a stepmother, right? In this case, Naomi sort of doubles as the godmother and the stepmother. Then we have a woman with stepsisters, even though they weren't stepsisters, they were actually her sisters. But they became disowned in a way when they went back to Moab. We also have, and all this stuff is, I'm not saying that these are one-to-one correlations. I'm saying this is a telephone gamed story. People taking it and twisting it and changing it throughout the years to make sure that they get a little coin at their little storytelling station, right? In the markets and the squares, and they make their money. So then we also have a foot sort of thing going on. She lays at Boaz's feet, the shoes in the story of Cinderella, etc. And there's many more other other connections, especially the idea of a kinsman redeemer. Yeah, you may say, Cinderella, how is she connected or related to the prince in any sort of way like Ruth was to Boaz? Well, if you remember, her father was a member of court. She is royalty that married into upper crust, right? Her father married into upper crust. And that family, whether they were part of the royal court or not, there's variations, were in fact, in most cases, slightly lower than Cinderella's father's first marriage. And so there's an interesting factor of family and royal court at play in a very similar way to the way we deal with the Old Testament levirate marriage and all the things that go on with Boaz, etc. And I just find it so funny that people don't notice this. I find it so funny that our fairy tales have so much biblical, they've been influenced so much by biblical, not just morality, but even the actual stories themselves are based off of the archetypes that we find in scripture. And these twists that we give to it are not always to contort and change the story into something that it's not, right? These are to emphasize certain parts of the original. They are meant to teach and emphasize parts that of the original that stood out to the original author, whether they did it so that they could get more of a shock from their audience and thus more money and, you know, a better living, or because they knew that it would touch the hearts of the people and thus change their lives, or both. You know, I do a little bit of both here. I do a little bit of, you know, pushing my envelope and pushing the things that I push because I know that it will push me into the category I want to be, to make money and to do, you know, wonderful and amazing things. But I also want to minister to people's hearts. I want people to be their family's bard. And the idea that, you know, there's capitalistic storytellers who don't care at all for the craft and the art. I'm sorry, if you're of any quality whatsoever, there's some worldview and some agenda behind it that you're wanting to push, but they can go hand in hand with making money. This isn't a mutually exclusive thing. Storytellers think in levels is what I'm trying to say. Layers, right? So Cinderella, I don't have a whole lot more to say on the subject. Just read every variant you possibly can. I have a version. I will be releasing it through Poetry Bricks after I finish the Rhyming Little Mermaid in Poetry Brick form. So you can be on the lookout for that. I'm really proud of what I did with it. And I hope you will be too. Right now, I only have the time to be releasing one a day. One Poetry Brick a day. I was doing 3 for a while, but it just stretched me too much. But if you want me to start stretching again, you can go to joshuadavidling.com/support, and you can do one-time donations. You can do recurring donations. They can be large, small, whatever, and I'll figure out what I can do. But I appreciate you all listening. I appreciate you calling and checking in. And if you want to talk more about Cinderella and you want me to explain a little bit more about this sort of thing, text me right over here, and we'll talk about it. Right over there. There we go. Anyway, but that's virtually all I have to say this time around. Like I said, my mind is on Fight, Laugh, Feast and getting moving. We're going to go to more Disney princesses as we go on, along with some other topics while I'm working on getting some more conversations with artists going. And the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and give you peace. Be your family's bard. Do not turn to the right or to the left, and the Lord will be with you wherever you go. Join us next time in the trenches on Poets at War.
God of songs